So again, with your fell waters, your troll hag, the griff feather, your gemini. I always include geminids, which we'll talk about a bit later. But geminids, your sneaky distraction. So you're -4 to hit, -5 to hit straight away. So really debuffing the army, really debuffing their potency of attacking you, especially then obviously with sneaky distraction. So you can put with each your nuisance, and then you can sort of target other areas and sort of spread sort of your attacks out, but while not worrying about what's happening in certain areas of combat.
Okay, sorry, the internet just died. I was listening and just trying to
Uh,
refresh it at the same time. Please continue. Yeah, go for it.
so that's sort of my yeah. Web spinner shaman is come apart. So they're quite cheap as well. So the fungoid's 90 points, and the web spinner's 80 points. They're just there really just for the spells because, as I say, with the I think the git spells are some of the best in the game. Really, with Scuttle. So with Scuttle, especially with the web spinner shaman, because he's a spider shaman, gets +1 to cast it as well.
Yeah, that's really
So
that, which is really good. Yeah, like because then
yeah,
he's not sat on plus. Yeah, he's only got the +1 to cast, isn't he? But Scott cast on
yeah.
6.
Scuttle is cast on. I'm just going to refer to the book because I think it's a 6 or 7. It's a 7. So it's a 7. So Scott Tide's a 7, but he gets +1 to cast because he's a spider wizard. And if he's under the moon, he gets another +1 to cast. So he can get it off on a 5. And that's really that I find that Scott Tide is amazing. You can go board wide, set it up next to a train piece, and yeah, just roll 6 dice, any 5s and mortal wounds. And it's really just an irritating spell for the opponent. Because it's a 7, they've got to try and dispel it on a 7 or more than a 7. But it just follows people. It just follows people around, and people forget about it. And it's like if you set it up long ways, it affect the whole unit. And anytime they move or charge within 6 of that Scuttle Tide, against another 6 dice, 5s and mortal wounds. And I've had it up, if you set it up around a big combat area where I had it at Sheffield Slaughter, my game 4, I was around a central objective and I set it up and I had a guy who was playing Deepkin and he's basically charged all his eels in. It can only affect one at a time. So basically the Scots, when you set it up, can only affect one unit, but any unit that charges in gets affected by it. So who's charging? I charged about 4 or 5 units in, and I was literally just going, right, that unit there's now here 6 dice, 5 more, 5's doing mortal wounds. I was just picking off eels here and there, and I was just triggering him. He was getting really triggered.
Well,
But, yeah,
I played against Scuttle Tide and it triggers me all the time. It's honestly so good
yeah.
and it,
So 30 points as well. 30 points.
30 points, and it affects battling characters if you want it to,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like you're saying, you can use it to really engage in combats and fights and change the way
yeah,
things
yeah,
work.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So you can block things off as well. So you can sort of a lot of people when I play them they give me first turn because it's a slow army. So try and get that Skull Tide off, and they've got big blocks of units. Just put Skull Tide in front of them, and they can't move. And it's like you've blocked an avenue of movement that they can't get anywhere. So they've then got to rethink their plans. They can't. They set up on the line around a train piece, and you just tag them. You just tag that Skull Tide in. They've got to move somewhere else.
yeah,
So it really plays with the opponent's minds, really.
yeah. It's just such a good spell, and it's so good. Yeah, and you can see why you would include it in a Trog army. Plus, it kind of makes sense. Spiders and Trogs, I think they get on with each other quite well.
Yeah, we'll
Ish.
see.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those are they're my leaders. So I've my dank boss, obviously from a general for battle line, a hag, a couple of fungal chaos shamans, and sometimes a web spinner as well. But usually I'll run four sort of heroes really. So then, because then you've obviously unlocked. So within the book, there's obviously the Dankhold Troggoth is next. So the Dankhold Troggoth, you don't really see him apart from this guy called Ad in Ireland. He's running three of them. But Dankhold Troggoth is 200 points. He's got 10 wounds, so two less than the Dank boss, for 70 points less. But so he's 10 wounds. He loses an attack, so he's got three attacks. Again, he's still threes and threes, -2, D6 damage.
Wow.
Um, but he's still got sort of the same. He doesn't have obviously the command ability, but he's got the same sort of. He's got the same effects. So he's still got his crushing grip. The Dank boss and the Troggoth, they have an ability where they can give +1 to bravery for Troggoths as well, which really you need. Because obviously you brave the main fell waters and the rock guts, which we'll touch on in a bit, are only bravery 5s, so you sort of really need them to be trying up the bravery a bit. Otherwise, you're using them valuable command points to pass battle shock when you need to. So the Dankhold Troggoth, I don't really use him. As I say, I'll use them. I used 2 Dank bosses at Sheffield Slaughter really for the ability just to, because when you're using one Dank boss, you're sort of really stuck in one area where you're trying to, with that 18-inch bubble. Sometimes if you need to go for an effective part of the battlefield, you're sort of outside that 18. But with the 2 Dank bosses, you can sort of have them either side, just lumbering up the side of the battlefield. So you've got a sort of a bigger arc where you need it for that battle, for that command trait really.
Yeah.
So you can sort of utilize it where you need it. So that's a Dankhold Troggoth. So I think he's overpointed 200 points. I'd like to see a bit of a points drop for him in the new GHB should that land.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go on to the fabled Mollog.
Mollog, yes.
Mollog. So I was watching your Monday report a couple of weeks back when you're talking about the number of Troggoths that are in the tome, and I was like, yeah, there's only 5. Then Nathan went, no, there's 6, and I was like, no, Nathan, don't be silly, there's only 5. And he mentioned Mollog, and I was like, yes, Mollog. Now Mollog, you don't see him; he's a Shadespire character, but I mean, he's 170 points.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 8 wounds. Again, movement of 6. 4-up save, but he's got. I think he can be repurposed, and I'll talk about this in a sec. But he's got a Jabbertoad missile weapon with 1 attack, 4s and 4s, no rend, but 1 damage, and he's got a Puff Fungus club. He's got 2 attacks, but you don't roll a hit or wound roll. You just basically roll a dice, and whatever you roll is an effect. So if you roll a 1, nothing happens. So you could really be, go into combat and you roll 2 1s, you're stuffed.
Yeah.
But if you roll a 2 to a 3, you do 1 mortal wound, and that's it. Or if you roll a 4-up, you do D3 mortal wounds.
Okay.
I just don't see a purpose for Mollog in my army at the moment. I have got the model, but I don't see him. I think he could be repurposed slightly. With Mollog, though, again, I should have said this with the Dank boss and the Troggoth. The Dank boss, Troggoth, and Mollog, they have a 4-up save against spells and endless spells,
which is pretty great.
Which is pretty good. So a lot of people, obviously, with endless spells being what they are in the game, when you go, well, okay, that spell is going to affect your boss on a 4-up, I ignore it. So those guys have got that. Again, you have the 4-up on the hero phase, your heal wounds. But Mollog has some minions that follow him around. So he's basically made some friends in the Dank Dark Cave. And these minions sort of help him on the battlefield. So he's got a bat squig. So this bat squig, you pick an enemy within 18, and on a 5-up, the enemy suffers 1 mortal wound, and that's the bat squig really. Um, so he's got a spiked shroom. So the spiked shroom is on a 5-up again. You subtract 1 for hit rolls from attacks made by the unit in the combat phase. So that could quite help. That could sort of help you out, really, just trying to whittle the attacks back onto Moloch. Or if you tag Moloch in with a number of rock guts or fell waters, you hit with Moloch first with that spiked shrew, and that unit's taken one from attacks from their profiles.
Which is good when you've also got all the minuses to hit inside the army as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's got a Stalag Squig. So on a 5-up again, basically he takes the wound or mortal wound. If you attack Mollog on a 5-up, this Stalag Squig takes the wound or mortal wound. But the thing with Mollog and his followers is that if you take a wound on Mollog or a mortal wound, you can opt to kill a minion. So he can just basically wandering around the battlefield, taking wounds, and go, right, I'll just get rid of the Bat Squig, or I'll get rid of this White Shrew. I'll just keep going. So he's a bit like an irritating character for 170 points, really, just for the enemy.
Okay, so you think potentially take him?
Well, I think he can be repurposed, and one of the things I feel that they could do with him, and I know he's a Shadespire character, but with as I mentioned with the Troll Hag, she's the only Trog wizard.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could make Mollog a wizard as well. Give him a wizard keyword and have him as a wizard going around, and give him these Bat Squigs give him certain abilities, or the spike shrooms, and that's if he had that ability, if he's a wizard, then I'd take him. Because with people, I mean, there's people taking these Trog armies, but I want to try and keep it pure. That's my own sort of take on it. I want to keep as pure Trogs as possible.
So you would like there to be some more utility in the Trog keyword?
Yeah. So in all these like stupid squigs and stupid spiders and things like that. And so if Moloch was a wizard, then he'd be my wizard. I'd have him in. I'd get rid of the fungoids and things like that. But
unfortunately,
that's my. I feel that's the way they could repurpose Moloch and have him a bit more useful for the AOS community, really. But
people are crying out. I won't lie. People are crying out for this change. That's what I think.
Yeah. So just to get it, because I think either make the Hag a two caster wizard for the 380 points,
mm-hmm.
or have Moloch as a wizard.
All right, there we go. So
then we come on.
Oh yeah, the units. So, no, please continue.
Units. So then we come on to the final page of Battletome Trog. Page 1. So these are your battle lines. So you've got your Fell Waters and your Rock Guts. So they each have got sort of a different sort of purpose. So in my army, I'm purely for the new sculpts. I really love the sculpts, and you can. I think I've got about 15 or 18 of these Rock Guts now.
Whoa.
And they're all repurposed. I haven't got a same pose.
Oh, really? Pose. So you've done all the different poses on all the different ones?
Yeah, so you have so many options in that box. You get three in a box, but you get so many arm options you can have. So you can have more different, like two-handed clubs, one-handed club, grabbing a grot, which is proper what grots are there for, grabbing them and squeezing the heck out of them. And yeah, so I've got about 15 or 18 of these Rock Guts now. So the Rock Guts I use predominantly, and I feel really more the newer sculpts, and both of these, so the Fell Waters and the Rock Guts, they're each four wounds apiece. The movement 6, they've got a 5-up save and a 5 bravery. But the Rock Guts are there. They're your hard-hitting unit, really. So I have run them in. I do like a big unit of 6 Rock Guts. And so Rock Guts, they've got their attack profile. They've got a 2-inch range, so you can sort of stack them in two lines. So you can reach over. The backline can reach over.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got a 2-inch range. They've got 2 attacks apiece. Again, they're hitting on 3s, wounds on 3s. -2 rend, doing flat 3 damage apiece. So when you've got again, so these are quite good when you've got that Dank Boss ability of rerolling the ones. They're hitting on they're hitting on the threes, rerolling ones, wounding on threes, -2, doing flat 3 damage.
Yeah,
And when
it's just such a shame that they don't have three attacks, right? Like,
correct, yeah.
yeah. But I mean, because now it's so I can see why you're super focused on getting those reroll ones in, because you've got such a
Yeah,
limited attacks. You really have to make sure you improve every element of
yeah.
them.
When they miss, you want to try and get as many attacks through as possible.
Yeah,
And so that's why I do run in the big unit 6, just to get that, to try and get as many attacks through as possible onto units. So that's them really. They've got again on a hero phase on a 4-up they heal D3 wounds, and with the rock guts they've got this ability called Stony Skin, or Stony Skin. So when you're taking damage, you've got a 5-up after save. So you've got your 5-up normal save. Obviously, if you get any rend, that goes through. But then you've got your 5-up Stony Skin save. And that saved me so many times in the past, because people are like, oh, yeah, I'm hitting you with -2, or I'm hitting you with mortal wounds. You've got no mortal wounds save, have you? And I go, well, actually, I've got this Stony Skin ability. So, and then you when you pop them 5-up saves, and you you might lose 1 or 2 rock guts, but you want to try and keep them around as long as possible. You don't want to lose a lot of, if you're running the units of 6, you don't want to lose too many, because then you're using your CP to keep them from battle shock running.
yeah,
And
because their bravery's pretty low, isn't it? Truthfully.
yeah, bravery 5. That's why when I was watching you with Darren Watson of the week, and his bravery bomb lists, I was like, oh no, bro, I'm only bravery 5, and he's like, yeah, I'll use this and I'll use that, and I was like, oh, so yeah, so you want to try and keep them around as possible. So the Stony Skin's great. Stony Skin's really good. And then they've got another ability. So they've got another ability which is they throw a rock.
A rock.
Now, the rock, the rock of doom, I like to call it.
Right.
So, it's not a missile weapon. So what you can do is you can still move and run. You can still throw a rock. Now this got me in game 1 of Sheffield Slaughter, where I threw a rock and killed. I was playing John Green of Bobo, and against his Zeech, and I threw a rock. I teleported them across unit of 3. I threw a rock. I was 9 inches away. I threw a rock, killed one guy, and he removed the guy nearest to me and made it a 10-inch charge. When I charged, I rolled a 9.
Oh, heartbreak.
So if I didn't throw that rock, I would have been in and I would have won the game. And then that lost me the game because I threw a rock. I got greedy.
And you almost beat Change Host. Oh, so close.
Yeah. But so this one sort of does catch people out. So they think it's a shooting attack, but it's actually not. So you can move, run, and throw the rock. So again, that's why I like a unit of 6, because you have to roll equal to or more equal to or less than the unit in the rock gut unit. So if you've got unit of 3, you need to roll 3 or less basically to throw the rock. So if you've got a unit of 6, they're automatically hitting.
Well, that's nice. So no rolling dice. That's fun.
But no rolling dice. So basically, just throwing one rock. I don't see why it's 1 rock for a unit of 6 guys.
Me either.
So it should be like 3 rocks, do you know what I mean, or 6 rocks. But yeah, so it's basically 1 rock, and it's D3 mortal wounds. So it's quite good. It's a range of 12 as well. So it's quite good for even if you want to sort of keep out of range slightly, but throw the rock. It's 12-inch range and it's D3 mortal wounds. So that's what's good on a unit of 6. You're automatically hitting.
Do you ever think about taking like MSU units so multiple small units of rock guts to try and?
This is what. Yeah, sorry. So this is what I did at Sheffield Slaughter. So what I've ran previously is 2 big blocks of 6 rock guts, and then I've had a unit of 3, and then 2 units of 3 fell waters.
Yeah.
But at Sheffield Slaughter, I've switched it up, and more in the fact that it was the big bad change host. And I thought that's probably one the tournament where they was first really. I know they was at the heats and I was doing a lot of damage at the heats, but Sheffield Slaughter, I was really scared about facing them.
Yep.
So what I did, and Nick Thompson, sort of quite a bit of advocate of table and board control.
Hmm.
And so what I did was split all my units down. So I had one unit of 6 just for pure output if I needed it. If I faced something that I really need to get rid of, I had that unit of 6. But apart from that, then I had about four units of 3 rockets, purely for then just you
Throwing
can go
rocks.
off and throwing rocks, wandering around, lumbering around the battlefield, throwing rocks everywhere. But you can sort of block off areas. So when you're a unit of 6, you've only got say you've got a couple of 2 units of fell waters and 2 big blocks of 6, but you sort of lose a lot of ball control. So you do have things such as eel coming up at the backboard. If you can't screen properly, you have things that are coming on from different areas. But with my units of 3, I could sort of block off areas which I didn't want, eels coming on from, or if I wanted something just to go over, I could test something, I could send a unit of 3 over. And that was really good because, as I say, with the change host, I was really worried about a big block of flamers coming down and blasting away a unit of 6 rockets. And that's whilst it's 280 points for unit 6, because they're 140 points to 3, you lose a lot of damage. And if I have two units of big blocks of 6, if they get the double turn, or if they have 2 units of big flamer units, that's my output. And I was really worried about that. So I sort of split them down into units of 3 because I thought, if you've got a big block of flamers, you're only going to be really killing three rockets or 3 fell waters or something like that.
Yeah.
Where then I've got the capacity to then come on with my other units and sort of swarm you or do what I want to do my plan. So that's what. So
that makes sense. I'm also a big fan of board control. I think that makes loads of sense, and I think being able to double down, and like you said, the damage output's fairly inconsistent, but the damage on 6 rockets, but I suppose doubling up gives you twice as much chance of it doing well.
I mean, the unit when you lose that unit, when you've got unit 3, and you do miss them attacks or them wounds, you do feel it. So there were some instances where I thought, if I get these attacks through, then I've got potential for winning this game. But when they flopped, and that's what the double dank boss was for, really. So because I've got these extra units of 3, the double dank boss, if I needed the ability in one area or the other area, I had that ability to re-roll them ones to get them through. So especially with their 18-inch range. So I did find it in some instances when I needed the punch, it wasn't there with a unit of 3. So, I always have a unit of 6, but just for MSU unit and ball control, the 3s are really, really, really good.
Okay, sweet. Yeah,
so that's the rock.
I love throwing. I love the idea of throwing the rocks as well. It's a cool mechanic.
Yeah. So that's the rock guts, and then the other unit obviously is the fell water, the stinky cousins. So again, 4 wounds apiece, 3s, and so you got they've got a shooting attack, so the noxious vomit. So they've got 1 attack, but it hits on a 2, wounds on a 3. It's -2 and does D3 damage. So this is like really the horde unit, really. So when you've got that big horde unit of, say, Skaven or things like that, they can really go in there. It's a 6-inch range, so it is quite short compared to the rock. But you sort of vomit onto them, do get your attacks through, do your D3 damage, but then you hit them with the club. So the club, they got 4 attacks apiece with the club. So when you got a unit of 3 guys doing 12 attacks, they hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, but it's only -1 rend. So it drops down from the standard profile across the usual Trog army, but it's 2 damage apiece. So again, when you're re-rolling them ones to hit, you're hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, -1, 2 damage apiece with 4 attacks apiece, potentially 12 attacks for the unit. You're really clobbering through certain horde units that you want to go through. So especially like as I say, the Mortek Guard, when you've got your Dank Boss, you pick out that Hecatos with the Crushing Grip, so they can't re-roll their saves. But then you've got that unit of 3. You bash them with the Dank Boss, but then you've got that unit of 3 Fellwaters with their 4 attacks apiece, going through and just scything through Mortek Guard and things like that.
Well, I think for me, one of the things that I saw the Fellwaters do so well is obviously when if we are talking Fellwaters still, right? Is obviously do the vomit to clear a screen, then charge into something else.
Yes.
And you can't. There's just nothing you can do about that. Just hope that the Fellwaters don't do particularly well. And so go on.
Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just saying those dual utility units that can shoot and fight. Often you're paying for both abilities, so sometimes they can be. But in that monstrous infantry sort of category, I think the Fellwaters actually do really, really well.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I mean, they're 150 points, so they're 10 points more than the Rockguts. But they, as I say, they've got the -1 to hit. So as you say, you use a vomit attack from the 6-inch range. You clear a screen. Screen of skinks or something like that. Then you charge in. You're doing the damage with the club, and then when you get hit back, you're -1 to hit, so you're not taking too much damage. I mean, you don't have the shrug save as the Rock Guts, but -1 to hit. You're not getting as much damage back from any enemy units attacking you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're a great unit. Is there a battalion? That's the.
Oh. Rob, you now to trigger me. There is a battalion. There is a battalion. So it's the Trog Herd Battalion. So it's 180 points, which is way, way, way too much.
It's the same as Chain Chose, so it should be as good, right?
It is, yes. So when it first came out, so another guy in the Dan Cold chat, Clayton, pointed this out, and it's 180 points. But the Chain Chose is 180 points, and the Chain Chose obviously at the time being teleporting 2 units. Obviously now that's changed.
Yep.
Not sure if I water, but
okay.
So Trog Herd is you need the Dank Hold boss in there, and then it's 3 to 9 units of anything of Dank Hold, Troggoth, Fellwaters, or Rock Guts. So you can be a 1-drop really with this battalion. But the battalion ability for 180 points, yes, it gives you the extra command points, it gives you the extra artifact, which if you are going off the book, isn't loads. So you try and obviously utilise the realm artifacts or things like that. But the ability of the Trog Herd is on a 6 to wound, you get +1 damage. 180 points.
For 180 points, it's not the best, but it isn't.
No.
It isn't awful, right? But you aren't also rolling loads of attacks, so
Exactly.
Which is really upsetting. And then
so obviously you need to hit first.
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously when you go wound, you need that 6 to wound. So it's for 180 points, it should not be that much. I don't know who was drinking what or smoking what when they're doing that.
We're in the they're in the dank hold themselves. Yeah,
definitely.
180
too many mushrooms.
Yeah, it's rough as hell. It's just not good.
No.
But so obviously we've talked about some of the things. Have there been experiences where games have just gone super well? Like, do you find, and I'm sure the answer will be yes, obviously, but do you find it more rewarding winning those games with an army that you super love as opposed to something that's just good, right?
Yeah. I mean, as I say, predominantly, as I sort of mentioned earlier on, with me I was flipping and flopping between armies, and I've ran now purely Troggs probably a year. I did the write up for your website before Bobo last year,
which I loved.
Which you read out, which thank you very much for that. And obviously Scrivo's done a little portrait for me. I don't know if you see. There we go.
Yeah, it's actually on the screen right now.
Oh yeah, great. So I've run them for really religiously for a year now. But I just have great fun playing it. People turn up. I've seen Troggs been played in Gloomspite armies as really like you really the rock guts or a dank hold here and there. Not really a dank hold boss really because of the 270 points, but really like a unit of 6 rock guts, really for the punch. But yeah, really, I've run it purely as Troggs, and I've really seen anyone else to be honest with you. There might be some guys out there that have been to events that I haven't been attended to that are running it, so great for those guys. And I know that there's a couple of guys that ran it at CanCon recently. But yeah, I just had great fun playing it. It's like people turn up and they're like, "Wow, what are these?" And like, "Yeah, these are Trogs," and like, yeah, they have a laugh, and that's it. It's sort of it's a beginning for a talking point because when you turn up, sometimes I feel the same, but when you turn up to a table and you don't know anybody and you're a bit nervous and how they're going to be or how they're going to react, it's a bit of a icebreaker. It's like sort of and what these do, and you sort of tell them what they do, and you're like, just lumber around, and they punch things or crush things with their hands and things like that. And they're like, whatever. When they hit, and you go, yep, so that's 6 rock guts. That's 24 damage, please. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, told you. so it's like I just love them. I really, yeah, they're great.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And you found the wins or the games just generally more rewarding. I like the idea that it's
Yeah,
a nice icebreaker. I hadn't even thought about that. That's actually super sweet.
it's good. Just talking point. Cause I say, like you turn up, people you've never met before, or even people that you play religiously, and it's like, oh yeah, you bought the Trogs again, or oh, how you getting on? What events you've been to with your Trogs, and as I say, from your sort of your read off from the Trogs, it's got quite, I'll put it on Twitter as well when I'm sort of commentating on some of my games when Dankhole. But people have now sort of, people come up to me and go, oh, you're the Trog guy, and like sort of, they ask me how I'm getting on or things like that. So it's quite an icebreaker for people that don't, have never met before, or people are a bit nervous at the tabletop. Your name's read out, and you like go to table. I'm normally down the bottom end of the events. So,
Yeah.
so when you turn up to that table and they're like, oh, what are these? Or I don't see these often. And you're like, well, these are Trogs, and this is what they do, and let's have a good game. And when they finish the game, like, oh, I really like them, or those are really good, or and people are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and pick some up myself, or so people have come up to me and said, look, as that one of your listeners, then picking up Trogs from really listening to what I've done, or me just spouting on Twitter about random stuff.
Trog Adventures.
It's really, Trog Adventure, the Adventures of Trog. So it's really good, and it's just basically just settles people's nerves. I think sometimes, as I say, people come to the table a bit nervous or something, and you like, just have a good game, just have a fun time. So
I hadn't thought about that. Like, yeah, that negative experience because it's kind of the exact opposite what me and Darren talked about the other day, where you intentionally try and get in someone's head to disrupt their ability to play. What I think that shows, and I think is incredibly a great example of who you are, is you actually would like to settle people's nerves as they get to the table. The opposite.
That's sort of us as WS10 as well. Really, it's like we try and approach the game in the right way. I mean, you do have people that really want to set out to win things, and all best will to them. They want to an event. They're there to win. Have a great time. I'm there. I want to go out there. The amount of people I've met from events. That first message on Twitter, meeting Pete, meeting Nick, then also I've met so many people from events. Turning up. I mean, as I say, the Throne of Skulls was my first event. I went with a couple of guys from the WS10 team, but then you meet people. I met yourself, met Nathan, Jonathan, James Powell, the Scribes guys, Miles and all them, like Paul Haley, Parr, and then and Lee Bromley, another one. You meet them at events, and when you're running like Trogs, it's all a talking point, and then it's just I turn up to events. I want to have a good time. I want my opponents to have a good time. And that's what WS10 is about, really. We want to play the game in the right way. Everyone has a good time. You know, that's us.
It is you, and it is your community as well, which I think is great. And I think as some people in the chat are saying, and they can mirror that. I think it's and I think it's nice that you actually just represent that on the tabletop as well with your army. And I also appreciate hearing your enthusiasm and love for them on the stream today. It's been amazing. Thanks. Yeah. I think thanks. We've got a question in the chat. I was going to say, have you got any final thoughts before we head out for today? Because
no real final thoughts. I'm interested to see what comes from. I don't know. Obviously, things have been put back. I think with the new GHB, but I think with the new GHB, I'm interested to see what the points are going to be for the Troggs. I'm just really missing events, meeting, going out to club nights, seeing my pals. Really, built the friendships that I've built through events and things like that. That's all I want to say. Thanks to you, Rob. Really, thank you for putting on the stream every day, because it helps us. A lot of people we're stuck indoors. We don't have that sort of interaction where we've got these friends that we've got work friends and friends that we've made from school and things like that. But I can probably honestly say the majority of my mates I've made from events. So I want to thank you really for putting the stream on every day. I know it must be hard, but for putting it out there just so we can all interact, really. So yeah, thanks to you.
Oh no, it's my pleasure. Like I get the same out of it. Like listen, I love how much you love Troggs. Like it fills me with a glee. It fills me with a glee that it shouldn't fill me with. And also when I see you kick someone's ass with the Troggs, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, and also because it takes a sort of courage that I don't really have. Like I try and go win games. I've taken shitty armies before and enjoyed myself. So maybe I've got it a bit, but I respect the full commitment to it, and I think other people can learn that lesson as well, and should. And you should. And I also hope people learn that you don't have to be scared. Just go and have a great time when we're able to. Yeah, when we're able to. I want to.
I mean, Nick Thompson's like a great advocate of just get games in. Now, as I say, I was flip-flopping between armies, but now playing Troggs for a year, I know what they do, I know what they're capable of doing, I know what's not good for them to go against, but just get games in, just religiously just play that army. I mean, it's not competitive at all, it's really fun, but as you say, I've beaten people, and they're like, how have you beaten me with Troggs? I'm like, well, I've played the army for a year. Just religiously play it.
Yeah, that's exactly was my philosophy last year. I was telling people to get into that, just play an army for a year, like learn your army a little bit better, get the reps in. I think that's a really valuable lesson to learn. Nubkin in the chat says, I'm not sure I have this kind of love for one particular thing in AOS. Sounds like a great attitude to have, though. Maybe I'll try it one day. You should. Absolutely. Ironside says, I love my WS10 extended family and the Warhammer folks. Hook and Pin says she loves a Warhammer family. And Deviant Doc says, and I'm a big fan of Deviant Doc because he's out there on the front lines in Germany working in healthcare, so thank you for that. I'm currently playing a build in Skaven. I love the Clawlord and Brood Horror, unless it's unavailable. Do you think it's going to be discontinued? Everything is unavailable on Forge World at the minute, but I think it got its war score updated in when Skaven came out, so I think it's still on the cards for being okay, but I'm not certain. All right, well, listen, it's been a pleasure. Loved having you on.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
No, thank you. If you guys, I'm going to put a link down in the show notes, both YouTube and as a podcast, to go find you on Twitter. I'm sure you don't mind people messaging you and sending you touch.
No, message me. That's fine. Yeah, I say I'm on Twitter, LCapitan_WS10.
Mm-hmm.
Search me there. I'm on all sorts of WhatsApp groups and things like that. Or just search us on Facebook, the WS10 Gaming group on Facebook. It's private, but I can let you in to just say you're here and just chat rubbish half the time. But it's just a good way to hang out.
Like every Warhammer person I know. And if you have been listening to the podcast, thank you. Please stay hydrated. And if you've been watching us live, I know we've had internet issues today, but it's going to be solved in less than a week. I'm so excited. Very, very exciting. So thank you to everyone who helped make that possible. Then thanks. You guys are great. Thanks for being here. Also, feel free to send your troll hag nudes to us. That's
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
okay.
Oh,
Oh yeah. And thank you to everyone on the War Gamer Patreon. That means I can do this every day. It's fun. Day 26 tomorrow, when I think we're doing the AOS stat show. Well, that's interesting when there are no stats. Well, there are. There are stats. There's no ongoing stats. So I think I think it's gonna be the end of the year stats. But it's been a real pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for
thank
being
you.
on. So I'm gonna just end the podcast there. You guys have a great day. And then I'm not gonna end the show because the thing that we like to do while we're live is go and raid someone.
Raiding.
Did you see the guy that we raided yesterday?
Yeah, he was
It was
awesome,
just
wasn't
the fucking happiest guy I've ever seen. So I just thought that was super sweet. So we'll go find, and what we like to do is try and find someone who doesn't have a lot of people watching, and then they generally get super happy about it. We tried to do Coda Paints the other day. I thought Unity Paint stuff. Let's go do that guy. So Unity Paint stuff. Let's copy that. And if you guys don't know what a raid is, then we just basically go in and we go say nice things to a guy. That's all we do, and we just be like, "Oh, it looks like you're doing some cool stuff. Hope everything's going well. That looks like a sweet color green. Fuck knows what people." But Stuart, thanks so much for being on the show, and we're gonna go now. We have done it.